And Sean, let's move on. We're going from the big bears to the small bears because Cubs are baby bears compared to actual bears. That's just animals and biology for you.
And I think it's even funny too that the Chicago Cubs were here before the Chicago Bears because it used to be the Decatur Staleys before moving to the Chicago land area and becoming the Bears.
Wasn't the Arizona Bears for Arizona Cardinals and then the Chicago Bears? Wasn't there something where Chicago Cardinals
the Chicago
and
Cardinals,
then moved? See, I know my history. Mm-hmm. Even the Viking fan knows the Chicago.
They even had
history.
another stop, I believe. Where was the other stop? Where the Arizona Cardinals have a stop before?
I don't know. I just
St.
know
Louis.
That's right, the St. Louis Cardinals.
They had 2 St. Louis Cardinals, I believe.
That would have been confusing. But we're talking about the Chicago Cubs because this year just has been not a great year for the Cubs. I mean, coming off of last year where you tie with the Brewers, you lose to the Brewers, you play the wild card against the Rockies, you lose to the Rockies in extra innings. Pretty dismal season last year. And now, as we're recording this, the Cubs are a half game out of the second wild card spot. However, they're up 4-0 with 2 outs as we're recording this. However, Padres have bases loaded, so we'll see what changes. Yeah, we'll see what changes in this podcast as it records. I will keep you updated in the podcast of how our psyche goes. But if they win, they will be tied with the Brewers. The question we are asking, I'm going to go to you for the actual Theo quote, although he didn't say it how we're asking it. I still want his quote, and I know you said you had it, Sean. We're asking the question of how much of a disappointment have the Cubs been this year, basically? 2019 as a whole, how much of a disappointment do you see the Cubs being? And before you answer it, what did Theo have to say about it?
Theo was on with Mully and Haw today on 670, and yes, I do work for 670, but this is not sponsored, but this is not an Entercom podcast or a 670 podcast. Just throwing it out there. I do work for them. They are my coworkers. They're great guys. But Theo was on this morning, and he said he's extremely frustrated by what he calls an underachieving and uninspired Cubs club. I don't think there's any excuses for how we're playing right now. And he goes and talks about we're pretty much playing 500 ball right now. We have our challenges, but every team has their challenges. Even when we're pretty healthy and a few guys have obstacles and we're not coming off injuries and things like that, we didn't do what we needed to separate. We had chances when we were 4 and 5 games up at points in the season, including in early July. We had a chance to put this thing away before the deadline, and now they're currently tied with the Brewers. Possibly might even be a game back if they lose against the Padres today. I think they're probably going to win it. But yeah, it's just been an absolutely disappointing year for the Chicago Cubs, and this was echoed by Jed Hoyer. He doesn't realize why this team is currently playing the way that they are, and that this core's timeline is running out sooner than he thought. And this was echoed by Theo Epstein, and it just seems that this team seems completely lost. And I've heard so many Cub fans just be absolutely depleted already in September for a team that's in a playoff race. Isn't that weird? Where all these fans are dejected and depleted, and not saying every fan is, but
we're used to what happened.
But
in
the Cubs are in the playoffs.
Doesn't happen to us.
Exactly, but the Cubs are in the playoffs. So that you winning a World Series 3 years ago was something that was unimaginable to the Cub fan in 2016. And now 3 years out after that, you're dejected that you're not a clear favorite to be in the playoffs right now. You're dejected that you're not a clear favorite to be in the playoffs right now.
I think that plays into it because first off, it's just the psyche of a Cub fan. Go back to 2016 because you and I were watching part of the end of that game together, the Game 7. When Rajai Davis hit that home run, first I was mad. Second, my mind immediately went to, well, that's what being a Cub fan is. I guess I've been bred for this.
Yeah.
This is what I've been taught. This is how I've come up. I'm just used to another, of course we'd get to the biggest stage and fail. Luckily, it didn't happen that way, and I actually got to experience some sort of happiness when it came to the Cubs. But it's like I said, did I say this? I said this back in when I was in college, before we even had an MVP Most Valuable podcast, and I was on the radio. We used to do a show called Sunday Sports Talk Live. Sunday nights, it was during Sunday Night Football. here in the south side of Chicago area.
Bad scheduling.
And, very bad schedule. But it was when we were free, and we loved doing it. We had a few local guys that would always listen in and call in and tell us we're doing a great job. And I remember saying after the Cubs got Theo, because we used to do this segment where it was like end of the show, I was the host, Brandon was on, and then this guy called AJ Poppy. And the end of the show would be kind of around the hornish, kind of like, no. What it was, remember the old college football days where it was Luke May, May and Holst, and they would basically be like, we're going to make our point to you, and we got to basically win you over. That's what they had to do. And we were talking about Theo being signed. What does this mean for the Cubs? Brandon hit the nail on the head. He said, in this many years, they win the World Series. To the T.
It was 5 years.
They won the World Series, yeah.
He was hired in 2011. They won in 2016.
2016. So it's like, shit. It's like Brandon was right. But I made the point where I said, if this team doesn't win a couple, or isn't in the hunt for a couple, actually in the World Series, then that's a failure. And that's with the talent we have, we almost, we should expect to be more in the running than we are now. It shouldn't be we're going to lose our division with the talent we have on the field.
I absolutely agree. Last year was a disappointment because you didn't win the division. You lost in game 163 and then lost in the wild card game. I understand
Credit to the Brewers, though. They played their minds out late in the year.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But you still lost.
Yeah,
you choked. You lost.
Yeah, I know.
And that's the thing. It's
I'm giving credit to Milwaukee too, though.
I know, but we're talking about the Cubs here, and going into the next point too is this team they're the most talented team on paper in the NL Central, and they're not even winning in the NL Central, and they're barely hanging on to a wild card spot right now. So I understand that disappointment, but I just find it shocking that this is a team that was the lovable losers, and now Cubs fans are just absolutely dejected that this team isn't it might not be a playoff team, and I understand why. It's crazy to see that change, because I've been in Chicago my whole life since 1997, and it's always just those couple year runs where hey, we have a window, we might make it to the playoffs, and that was what Cubs fans were excited about.
The Aramis Ramirez days was holy shit, we're in the first round, and we got swept by the Dodgers, and we got swept by the Diamondbacks.
Yeah, I mean that's the crazy thing, is just to see that shift, and again, I understand why, and it makes sense. I mean, Theo Epstein is the most successful general manager and at least president now of baseball operations in the past 18 years. If you look at strictly what it matters in sports is championships, his teams have won the most in the past 18 years. I believe I'm right in that, because if you look, he left in 2011, so he had 3, I believe, with the Red Sox, and then he had 1 with the Cubs, and I don't think any other GMs won more than 3 in the past 18 years, because the Yankees had 1. Or might have been 2. Yeah, they snuck in 2, but they've only had 2 in the past 18 years. So you can't say Cashman is, because I think Theo has 3 under his belt. So you look at all of that, Theo and Jed's teams have been the most successful in the past 18 years, and you wouldn't expect that this team with this talent would just fall flat, would just absolutely deflate throughout the year and not be consistent. And it just seems so off, because it's like my old car. I used to call him Kyle, and I named him Kyle because whenever I see hear the name Kyle,
you're a Scion, right?
Yeah, a Scion. Whenever I heard the name Kyle, I used to think of Drake Bell's character in All That or whatever.
Yeah.
And Kyle was a piece of shit. Kyle was a dumbass. And so was my car. My car was a piece of shit. If the wheels had a problem,
came back to him.
If the wheel, I had no choice.
True.
If the wheels had a problem, I go get them fixed. And then once I got that fixed, it'd be the muffler would have a problem. Then I have to go get that fixed. And then once I got that fixed, the air conditioning would have a problem. I have to go get that fixed. And then once I got the air conditioning fixed, I have to get an oil change. And then once I got the oil change, my engine would have an issue. And then once I got the engine fixed, the check engine light would come out and be like, I just fixed the engine. What's going on here? And then just be like, oh, you have a faulty gas cap. And I'm like, what is going on with this car? It just seems like that with the Cubs. Oh, Chris Bryant's hitting and Javi Baez is hitting, but Anthony Rizzo's having the worst month of his career.
And the bullpen just never seems to get it going.
We're absolutely on. We have eight runs in a game, and then they go out and blow it with the bullpen. Oh, the bullpen's absolutely on fire. The 10th best ERA in the league, and then the starting pitching's giving up 8 runs in 4 and a third. It's never been consistent. This team has never had those moments where the pitching's on. all of the pitching, the bullpen and the starters, and the lineup's been on. It's never been both consistent at the same time. And even today, I think they won 4-0. That game's got to be over at this point. You could probably say that this game was probably the best in the past couple of weeks, where you get 4 runs from the offense. And even then, it was a little bit iffy. You needed a double steal from Chris Bryant and Kyle Schwarber to even put them in position for an in-hap single. And then you had 14 strikeouts from Yu Darvish. But it wasn't this thing where they absolutely had 14 strikeouts. Did they lose?
No, I'm an idiot. They're on the road. So it's top of the 9th. They were batting, not in the field. It's the bottom of the 9th right now.
Dude.
So the Cubs had bases loaded with 2 outs.
Did they score?
No.
Jesus Christ.
It's 4-0 still. Bottom of the 9th just started. Well, 1-2 count to the leadoff hitter in the bottom.
Anyways,
of the 9th.
my point is just consistently throughout the year, and maybe there's been a game or two, but for a whole week or for a whole month, the hitting and pitching have never been on at the same time. And that's just, it's weird. You never see that. And I don't think it's on the manager. I don't think it's fully on the players, and I don't think it's fully on the front office. I think it's just fully on everybody. Everybody needs to be blamed for the 2019 season for the Chicago Cubs.
Well, I got a couple things I want to break down with that. First, I want to fact check you a little bit. Theo with the Red Sox got hired in 2001. He's got 2 with the Red Sox. Because they had 04-07. Then he left to come to the Cubs, and then the Red Sox got 2 more after.
Yeah, that's what
I think you said 3.
I said 3 because I was counting the Cubs.
The Cubs won, okay. So Theo's got 2 with the Red Sox, but the Red Sox
because they won in 2013 and last year.
That means in the last 18 years, the Red Sox, with Theo without, have 4.
But I'm saying Theo-led teams.
Yeah, I know.
So 2 from non-Theo Red Sox teams.
Yeah.
2 from Theo teams in Boston, and then 1 with the Cubs. So that's 3 from Theo-led teams. And then the only other one that I can think of are those 2 Red Sox teams, but obviously 3 is bigger than 2.
And I'm saying
then the Yankees had 1 in 2009 and 2000, so then that would be 2 for Cashman.
And I'm saying the only team, and let me double check here, the only team, there's 2 teams to win, 3 teams, to win multiple World Series in the last 18 years. Number 1 at 4 is the Red Sox, but that's 2 with Theo, 2 without. Number 2 is the Giants, because they went on that weird run where it was like even year, odd year, even year, odd year. They have 3, and then the Cardinals have 06 and 11.
Yeah, so he'd be tied with at least World Series wins with whoever the fuck the GM is in San Francisco.
That was between 2010 and 2014 that they went on that run.
They are I was looking at this, and I was looking at the past 18 World Series winners and ranking them by OPS. All 3 were the Giants World Series winners. Yeah, and that usually goes into their ballpark. Like ever since Bonds left, they've been like worst in the major league at home runs because they can't hit them out there. But like they have an awful OPS, and they had awful OPS.
And the only one to give them a series, the Royals. Like against the Rangers, 4-1 win. Yeah. Against the Tigers, that team got swept. That was Jim Leland, I believe. Yeah, it was. But going back to the Cubs, I almost have. So my thought process number 1 is, I guess the good thing is that this core is still there. But there's a part of me too that goes back to like what Dave was saying when we talked about will the Cubs win the division, is that I feel like if the same thing that happened last year happens this year, or if the Cubs don't make the playoffs at all, I know I said that like, oh no, Joe Madden is safe. But I start to feel like, you know what? If we don't get to the actual NLDS, hell, if we may not even get to the NLCS, there's a good chance Joe could be gone. Just especially after the Theo comments, because if you already see him as a disappointment, you're not gonna sell every player you have. No, you're gonna fire the manager and get someone else in.
I just want to fact check because I totally forgot about Brian Sabian. He was the general manager for the Giants, and obviously a well-known name just totally wasn't clicking in my mind because he's been out of the league for 5 years. He retired after that 2014 year. So shout out to Brian Sabian, tied then for Theo, at least for general managers to put together World Series teams, or at least president of baseball operation teams to win World Series in the past 18 years.
And another thing I kind of think is, were Cubs fans spoiled the last 3 years before last year, from 2015 to 17, or number 2, were we expecting just last year to be like, oh, it was an off year? We're gonna, because from 2015 to 17, book us. We're like, book our hotels for the NLCS. We'll be there. 3 straight years. And then last year we didn't.
I don't want to. But 2015, it wasn't a book us year.
No.
Because there wasn't that expectation.
After that year.
Oh,
like,
okay.
that was the year we fought because we had to win the wild card game. Yeah, but like for 3 straight years, like that kind of gave us Cub fans like a little bit of a boost. Like, fuck yeah, our team is
2015
good.
was a shock that no one was expecting this team to be that good.
Arrieta played lights out in that wild card game. The Cardinals was just like, holy shit, we beat Big Brother finally.
Yes.
And then the Mets destroyed me.
Same with 2016. I mean, it still felt a little too early for that team to peak, but they did.
Yeah.
And even then, like last year was the disappointment, like you were saying, because you were like, all right, book us to the NLCS, and that was absolutely fair. You went 3 straight years. That is exactly what you should have expected, and that was what Theo was demanding. He was like, we're going to be making it to the NLCS. We're going to be competitive every single year, and then you have that fallout last year, and everyone's like, oh, it's Chili Davis's fault. It's Chili Davis's fault. It's Chili Davis's fault. It's all because of Chili Davis. Chili Davis, fuck that guy. He's the worst hitting coach ever, and they replace him, and what the fuck has been going on this year? So
yeah, exactly.
I don't know what it is because it seems like everyone's been saying the right things, and it's not like they're putting out Rick Renteria lineups out there where they're batting like Chris Bryant 7th.
Yeah.
I don't understand it, and I think it just goes back to this team's just not in sync, and I don't know how to sync up people. I don't know how to sync up the team. And maybe that just goes down to leadership, whether that be from a manager, whether that be from a player stepping up, whether that be from the front office. I don't know where that leadership is, because if you take these people and separate them, you can make an argument that Theo Epstein and Jed Hoyer, that combo, are the best baseball minds in baseball. If you want to say Cashman, totally understand. If you want to see Friedman, totally understand. But Theo and Jed are in that conversation. If you want to talk about best managers in the league, Joe Maddon is in the conversation. Yeah. There's a reason why him and Bruce Bochy are the highest paid managers in the league right now. If you want to separate Chris Bryant and say he's the best third baseman in the MLB, I would say you're wrong, but he's definitely in the conversation. If you want to separate Javi Baez and say he's the best shortstop in the league, he's probably one or two.
He strikes out too much to be the best in my mind.
But even then, I mean, shortstop's a fairly thin position. You could say Xander Bogaerts. You could say Carlos Correa. There's guys up there, but if you're talking about guys who have been competing for MVPs at that position, Javi Baez finished 2nd last year, and he is a guy that, while he does strike out and he does have his downsides at the plate, no one hits the ball harder when he makes contact, and no one is that valuable at shortstop when he was there. I know he was the 2nd baseman last year when he was 2nd in MVP voting, but still, if he was playing shortstop, he'd be having the same damn year. And if
same
you want,
thing I would say with Anthony Rizzo.
If you want to separate Rizzo, I think that's a little bit less of a fight between him and Bryant, at their respective positions. But if you want to say Rizzo's a top 5 first baseman, he's definitely in that conversation. Wilson Contreras, definitely in the conversation for some of the best catchers in the league. There's the talent that is there, both from in the front office, in the lineup, and in the managerial spot. It just comes down to, I don't think there is a leader out there. And Theo's saying it's embarrassing that they don't have a leadoff hitter. Well, you're putting Anthony Rizzo out there, right? Like, you're desperate right now. And I don't think it really comes down to the leadoff thing. I think that's a whole bunch of bullshit, that leadoff spot's so important. I think it just comes down to, you don't have a leader. And typically the leadoff guy sets the tone, and that's why they were so excited for Ben Zobrist to be back, because he's taking the at-bats to 8 pitches, 9 pitches. He's showing guys how to take an at-bat that day. He knows what's a strike and what's a ball, and he's getting the pitcher frustrated from the first at-bat. But that's because he's a leader, and that's because he's showing up there every single day, working his ass off, and because he is a guy that's absolutely respected in the league. And outside of that, I don't think they have a guy that they hold in that type of honor in that clubhouse. Maybe John Lester, but outside of that, they probably see everyone else as peers. Well, and I think that might be the issue there, is that they probably see everyone at the same, because Rizzo didn't make a name for himself exactly before Chris Bryant was there. Chris Bryant was winning an MVP, but I don't think he's better. He thinks he's better than Rizzo. Baez came after those guys, but I don't think Javi Baez thinks that they're better than him or in any single way. I think they all think that they're peers.
Bases loaded, 2 outs.
Jesus Christ.
And Machado's up. Bases loaded, 2 outs. Machado's up. You know what? You hit the nail on the head.
Follow this shit on Twitter.
So you hit the nail on the head, and you want to know what it just means? I'll ask this. Is the reason why the Cubs are in this situation is because of the retirement of Big Papa Ross. When you say they don't have that leader in the locker room, that guy that they look up to that wasn't a peer, David Ross was that guy. And after the World Series, David Ross left. And I know what you're saying. Oh, yeah, Ricky, the next year they went to the NLCS, so how could it be his fault? Yeah, but history, like when something happens in history, it's not like, well, president changes, boom, everything is different. No, it takes a little bit for that to take effect.
Yeah.
Are we just seeing the ripples of maybe how important he was to this locker room?
I don't think so. I think David Ross is one of the most overrated players in Chicago sports history.
I'm just saying like what he brought to the locker room, not like his play on the field.
I disagree. I think it was more of I think it was mainly this year the biggest blow was Ben Zobrist having to take time away from the team. And I think the prior year in 2018, Ben was on the team and Ben was producing. And I think that the team wasn't in sync, but I think they still had a leader that they could look up to. I think Ross is absolutely overblown, and I think Zobrist is more of the key there than David Ross was.
And plus, I mean, getting the trade for I'm going to say his name wrong, Castellanos, right?
Yeah, Castellanos.
It's
not. You don't say the L's. It's Llanos, not Lanos.
Castellanos.
Yeah, you said it right.
Okay.
Yeah.
How's the way that you say that? Because you were cracking me up on a fast break where you're like, yeah, you get at the score, the guys call in and it's like they say
Castellanos.
Castellanos
Or Castellanos.
Castellanos, that was it. But like even having him come in and like his hot start
4-1.
in August. Oh, fuck. 4-1. Please don't blow this while we're talking about it. I feel like with this Cubs team, we're way too talented to be this. I kind of just want to say this bad because this is not a position. It would be almost like I'm trying to give like another sports comparison. It would almost be like not the Patriots. Like we're not the Patriots of baseball. It would almost be like if I don't want to say the Chiefs, but maybe the Chiefs. The Chiefs haven't won anything, though. Basically, what I'm saying is like a team that's like, wow, they're going to be 1 or 2 in the conference this year. Holy shit, they're 5 or 6. Like, what happened to this team? That's what we are. Like, we expect to be winning the division, especially a division where, yes, I know the Brewers made moves the last 2 years, bringing in Lorenzo Cain, bringing in Christian Yelich, making the moves to come after the Cubs. The Cardinals, to me, have been a shocking one because, like, I didn't think coming into this year, it's like, well, the Cubs and the Brewers are going to fight for it. Maybe the Cardinals are just there, and they have proven to, hey, we're going to be the underdog, and we're going to actually win.
I think it's tough to say that it's shocking for the Cardinals just because of what that team's always been. You always look at their team and they're like, this team sucks.
I just also hate the Cardinals.
They always
so
have Pujols,
much.
and then they'd have somebody who would step up. So I don't think it's really that exactly. I think I'm not too shocked that the Cardinals are there. I'm just shocked that the Cubs aren't running away with the division.
Yeah.
And that's what it is.
Well,
and they should have been.
be.
And they should be. So this year has been absolutely disappointment for the Chicago Cubs. Cubs fans should be disappointed. And as a White Sox fan, I'm kind of reveling in the glory, and I'm excited that you guys suck.
Eventually, we will talk about the future of the White Sox.
However, I can't shit talk them because it's not like Rick Hahn's killing it yet. So you guys are still the best baseball team in Chicago. Congratulations.
Well, you talk about Rick Renteria lineups. The Sox know what Rick Renteria lineups are right now, kind of like what we had before. Joe Madden. Here's the last thing I'll ask you, and this game plays into it because it has not ended yet.
No, it hasn't.
It should have ended, but it hasn't. The rest of the year for the Cubs looks like this. So after today, we're recording this on Thursday. Today, 3:05 start, ESPN Plus.
All right, game over.
We start a series against the Padres. We
4-1
finished
Cubs
against
win.
the Padres. We are now tied with the Brewers. We start tomorrow or today as you're watching and listening to this. We start a 3-game series with Pittsburgh at home. Then we have 2 more home series after that, 3 against the Reds, 4 against the Cards. And then we close the year out, 3 games in Pittsburgh, 3 games in St. Louis. How do you see the rest of this year playing out for the Cubs, knowing that the rest of the year is the division and 4 out of the next 5 series are against two teams in that division.
And here's like the fact that right now the Cubs just struggled out in San Diego against a piss poor Padre team, and I understand
lost one in extras.
I understand that that's better than I know it's better than this Padres team's better than what they typically are, but this team is still well under 500.
We should have won 3-1.
Yeah, you should have probably swept them.
Yeah.
Pittsburgh's always going to give you troubles, but you should win 2 from them. Cincinnati gives you more troubles than Pittsburgh. I wouldn't be shocked if you lost 2 to them. Then you have 4 against the Cardinals, like you said. I wouldn't be shocked if that is split. Since it's at home, I would say split, and that might be where the Cubs take 3 from the Cards. Mm-hmm. Then you go back to Pittsburgh. I could totally see Cubs winning 3 against St. Louis at home, and then going to Pittsburgh and dropping 2, because that's just how the season's been. And then at St. Louis, I'd probably take the Cardinals to win 2 games there. In this last stretch, I wouldn't be shocked if they went 500.
Yeah, I am kind of the same. Like, I'm not necessarily scared of Pittsburgh because, like, the last time we played Pittsburgh, it was 3 games, 2 in Pittsburgh, 1 was, I think, a makeup game in Wrigley, and we split the ones in Pittsburgh, won the one at home. So, like, I feel like we can fare fine against Pittsburgh.
Yeah, Pittsburgh gave you trouble going. It was around All-Star break.
The Reds,
they were a much better team at that point. So you should win that game. You should win those games.
The Reds scare me, and they shouldn't. Like,
no,
because they're a terrible team, but like they play us well, and it's like I remember one of the last games in the series. I think it was Game 2, the last series we played. They beat us 10-1. I'm like, it's a fucking Reds.
I think it was the Aquino game.
Exactly, it 3 home runs.
It was a 3 home run game.
One guy beat us basically. Aquino beat us, not the Reds.
God, he was fun. That was like Kyle Hendricks.
He is one of my favorite players right now. Like when MLB the Show.
Yeah, pick some better players.
MLB the Show.
Yordan Alvarez exists. Come on.
Yeah, but when MLB the Show came out, it's what his latest card was. The Topps Now card. Yeah. Jake, our patron, was like, "You got to get it, man. That's your boy." And right now he's on my bench because he's got that what Jake calls the "fuck you" stance. Where it's like it's wide open and then he just comes right in.
They didn't have his stance immediately when they started the game. I haven't played with that card yet.
It was the Topps Now one that has the stance. And then it's just the Cardinals. Like, the Cardinals are on such a good run to where I'm like, you know what? We're probably not, like, we're not catching the Cardinals. I'm not holding my breath that we're going to win the division. My thing is we just got to win enough games to make the wild card. And the thing that I look at is I have each schedule pulled up. Milwaukee, they're kind of a little more jumbled. They got 4 against the Padre team that we just went 2-2 against. Mm-hmm. They get them in Milwaukee. Before that, starting today as you're listening to this, they started 3-game series in St. Louis without Yelich. Then they have Pittsburgh for 3, Cincy for 3, Colorado for 3. So they should be able to beat Colorado. They should be able to beat San Diego. So that kind of worries me. Philly, who's another team, like they're not far behind us. I think they're 2.5? No,
it's not right.
2.5 behind us because we're tied for that second wild card spot. They have Atlanta tonight, but then they got Boston, Atlanta, Cleveland, Washington, Miami, and then the Mets are 2 games.
Outside of that Miami series, that's a fucking horrible schedule.
Yeah,
that is awful for the Phillies.
And then the Mets have...
I'd be terrified if I was a Philly fan.
The Mets are a little bit better. They start off at home 3 games against the Dodgers. Yikes. They go to the Rockies. They go to Cincinnati. And then they come home for Miami and Atlanta. Besides those first and last...
The team that has the best schedule is the Milwaukee Brewers.
Yeah.
They have a dangerous team, and they have the worst dangerous team out of those other teams. Where those other teams have to play Atlanta, those other teams have to play the Dodgers. I'd be absolutely worried about it. If I had to pick the playoffs right now, obviously Braves winning the East. St. Louis, I think, will stay hold the Central. Dodgers are obviously clinched. I'll take Washington, 3-game leader right now. I think that's going to continue. Although they, are currently 3 games, currently they're at the wild card position. They've been one of the hotter teams in baseball. It just sucks that one of the more hotter teams has been the Braves. It was something where like the Nats were 17-7 or something in their past 24 games. The Braves were like 20-7 or something like that. It was something insane. I'll take the Nats, and then I'll take the Brewers to win that. The second wild card spot. I think the Cubs finish outside of first place, and then we'll be right outside of that. I don't think they drop behind the Phillies or the Mets.
I'm gonna end this by saying something real stupid, but it's me.
Yeah.
So the thing that I think happens is everything you said, except for that second wild card spot, we have a 3-way tie. Brewers, Cubs, and Mets all finish with the same record. Chaos ensues. That's what we're going to see this year, and it is going to pain me because knowing us, it is going to basically kill me because we'll beat the Mets, lose to the Brewers, and then our season's over. Or even if we tie to the Brewers, it's going to be we lose to the Brewers. Great, my season's over. I am prepared. I don't know if that's like a healthy thing to do as a Cub fan. Like I'm almost preparing for that. Hey, we're going to tie with someone and then lose. That's what I'm thinking. The Washington series, if we... Remember when I said I wasn't scared of Washington? Yeah, I was dumb.
Yep.
Wasn't I? But that is going to do it here for super fans. Thank you guys for checking this out as I'm sending a text to who's standing behind that door.
That's why the ringtone went off.
Ringtone?
Yeah.
She's going to get another one. But thank you guys for checking it out. Check us out on patreon.com/Moswell Podcast. Make sure to follow us on Twitch too. I got to pitch that. Twitch.tv/Moswell Podcast. Twitch Prime, Amazon Prime. Give us that free money that Amazon gives you each and every month. Thank you guys for checking it out. Cubs fans, also let us know what you think down below. I didn't ask that. Thank you guys for checking this out. This is a frantic ending, but we'll see you guys next time.